3, 2, 1.
Racing World is presented by Race Control Magazine.
Well, a little bit of a Racing World special for you here as we count down to the Indy Grand Prix this weekend and the start of the month of May, really, at the Speedway, with the Grand Prix followed by Carb Day, or followed by qualifying weekend, and then followed, of course, by the 105th running of the Great Race. But I had the chance this week, as we lead into the Grand Prix, to talk to Will Power and Josef Newgarden, and it was an interesting chat that we had, and it was full of a little bit of humour as well, so I hope you enjoy. One of the things that, because you're going to spend so much time at Indianapolis now over the next few weeks, first of all, obviously, Josef, it looks like you're moving house to Indianapolis anyway, but driving this direction this weekend, the other direction from Monday onwards, does it actually play into your mindset when you're on the main straightaway at Indy, or do you just blank it out because you're doing what you got to do?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't even register, honestly. It's just totally different track and different downforce level. So yeah, not even some. Yeah, I have to say, in all the times I've done it, it hasn't even registered. You know, there's such different disciplines, you could say.
Yeah, I'm like Will. It's so completely different that you almost hit it in stages. The first stage of a big month, then you're kind of really focused on that, and then as soon as you get done with it, then you can start thinking about the oval event and the 500. But having said that, we've been working on the 500 all off season. I mean, before we even show up for the GP, we've been working on the 500 so we kind of get locked in on the GP event, try and make the most of that, get a good cadence to lead into practice for the next week, and then we roll into the big show.
Big one for you boys here. What do you think about double points? Obviously double points for the 500. Like it or love it? What's the feeling?
I've never been a big fan of the double points at the 500 because I believe that you should never be thinking of the championship, when you're racing to try to win that race. Not that when you're trying to, if you're in the hunt to win it, you're thinking of that. But if you're fifth and you're down the last stint, the last 10 laps, and there's no chance to win, you won't fight as hard. You might consider just taking the points. So, I just think it should be it shouldn't be double points. It should be normal points, because it should be 100% about the race. It shouldn't be about the championship, in my opinion. So, it obviously, like you said, massive stint in a short period of points coming up here, and it will play a huge part in, who's going to be a contender at the end of the year.
I completely agree with Will that, I've not been a big fan of the double points scenario, both at Indy and the championship finale, quite frankly. But yeah, I don't think you're not thinking of points at Indy until it's over, and those come in moments. You think about qualifying, and then you're always trying to be fast. You're always trying to be in the the top 9 shootout because there's points there. But more so because you want to start up front in the race. And so you're first thinking about doing well in the race, starting up front. And then after qualifying's done, then you think about the points implications. If you had a good qualifying, then it helps you in points. And if you didn't have a good qualifying, then you worry about what it did to you in points. And the race is kind of the same way. I think when you're in the race, you're thinking about, doing as well as possible at this event because you get one shot at it every year. It's such a big deal. You're just trying to win the race. But then after the fact, you kind of have to settle with whatever that was. If it was a winning day, then it helps you tremendously in the points. And if it wasn't, then, you're kind of, you're feeling horrible about leaving there and being in a hole probably in the championship. So, yeah, I don't like it, especially I think Will brings up a good point. If you're fifth or sixth and you could do something strategy-wise to try and win the event, you may not do that nowadays, just because you don't want to sacrifice the negative of losing a bunch of points if you get it wrong. So I don't like that element of it, but for the most part, you're not thinking about championship when you're in the event.
Well, like everyone, we hate the word luck in racing. Will, you've been quite vocal over the years about yellow flag periods and how they determine luck. What's the common feeling these days?
I would say successful in this series is often about luck, because if you get caught on the wrong side of yellows, it can totally ruin your day, because they have this terrible rule where the pits close under yellow. But obviously speed matters massively. But you might question that if you look at last year's championship, where Dixon won probably 3 races because of yellows, so and qualified horribly. But for the most part, yep, if you can qualify at the front, it helps. Just those lottery yellows that I love to stick the knife in and let people know how bad they are.
Yeah, it's a tough equation. It's just tough. There's, I feel like you have good years and bad years when it comes to luck. You just don't know. I don't know how you really control that. You just gotta work as hard as possible at all moments, and try and put yourself in position to be ready to capitalize. But there's some things that are just out of your control.
I think a pretty safe strategy is pit when Dixon pits, because the 9 times out of 10 you're going to catch a lucky yellow. Like last year on the Indy road course, like if you just watch Dixon qualified 17th, me and Josef out leading by a mile, and saw, Dixon's pit, IndyCar's going to throw a yellow, quick pit, and we would have, Josef would have won the championship for sure, and I probably would have been in the hunt. You can tell Josef hasn't been destroyed multiple times by yellows, because he's still kind of on the fence. Like, well, yellows helped me out a few times. A few more times of Dixon getting the lucky one and him not, then he'll be right on board. Like, yep, the yellow thing really, really stinks.
I've not been beat to a pulp quite as much as Will has when it comes to yellow flags. I don't have as many wounds, so it's not fresh for me.
Yeah. Well,
but
honestly,
I understand it.
Honestly, it comes from, if it's a really bad system, because if you qualify well, you're more subject, because I have qualified well my whole IndyCar career. You're definitely more subject to getting screwed by yellow, because if you don't qualify well, you're going to pit early. You're going to pit early and take a risk and go fishing for that lucky yellow. So that's where I think it's a horrible system that has nothing to do with merit, totally to do with luck. It almost goes the other way. It hurts the guy that does a good job. Horrible system. Must change.
Well, heading into the 500, obviously got the return of 2 former Penske teammates in the names of Juan Pablo Montoya and Helio Castroneves. And then, of course, for you, you're faced with having to go to Nashville later on, at home of Josef Newgarden. That's
a special town, not because of its history in country music, but it is because Josef Newgarden lives there. And as I've said before, he is what I'd class as a godlike figure based on his social media. So, yeah, I'm excited to go there, and I'm sure Helio is as well. It's cool that he's back in the series, and Juan, he worked it out pretty quickly. I think he'll help that team with all the experience he's had, and I think he'll really help him on the oval. Actually, I think that's where he's very strong. But it'll be fun to have him back in the series. Always a great character and someone that you don't want to mess with on the track.
I think he'll be a very strong teammate for both Rosenqvist and Pato. I think he'll help the team a lot with what they're doing, and just be tough to beat. I think he'll have a good car underneath him, and he'll be difficult to beat. Road course wise, I think it'll probably be harder for him. I really do. He's Montoya, so he could surprise all of us in any moment. But I think he'll have a tougher time just getting back up to speed. The field's so tight, like Will said. I mean, you can't even make the smallest slip up nowadays, and you could be way in the back, like 20th. I think it will be hard for him to get back up to grips with the road course car.
Well, then finally, we'll end it on a bit of a cheeky note, shall we say. I believe there's been some text messaging going on between you and Joseph.
Message last night, and he hasn't apologized for it. So that's something that's kind of upsetting me, I would say.
I did not know what you were going to say. I actually was confused about what text message you were talking about. I was complimenting Liz. Liz is very organized and professional. And some people in the team didn't know that, but they're going to know that Liz is very professional.
There's no question. Liz is certainly on top of her game, and she has 2 children to deal with. No, I have to say I contribute a lot. You'd be surprised, Joseph, at home. You would be surprised. I bathe my little boy every night, put him to bed. I don't ever cook dinner. Never cook dinner. The missus, she's too on it, man. Like, it's just something I don't do. But I would.
You're a lucky man, Power.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to. I reckon old Ashley probably does quite a bit for you.
Oh, she's amazing. I would not function without my wife.
Yeah. You hear that, Ashley?
He has to say that because I'm driving.
Perspective Group is a leading media production company based in Auckland, New Zealand. Established in 2009 by former TVNZ producer David Turner, Perspective Group offers you a vast arrangement of media options to fit any size or budget. It covers truly global services supported by some of New Zealand's leading media talents. For more information, contact Perspective Group Limited at perspectivegroupltd@gmail.com and check out the website perspectivegroupltd.com, where you'll find even more information on creating your media solutions. Racing World is presented by Race Control Magazine.